It was an encouraging meeting. Boris Johnson gave us a lot of time. The Foreign Secretary said about the trip to Iran, which is one of the things that we have been pushing, that he's keen, those were his words, he's keen to take Richard with him on the trip. Bear in mind that Richard has been trying to get a visa to Iran for the last 19 months and hasn't been successful. He hasn't seen his daughter in 19 months. Gabriella's lost the ability to speak English now, so it's very difficult for Richard and Gabriella to communicate. Their communication is via Skype, but as she doesn't speak English and he doesn't speak Farsi, you can imagine it's not an ideal solution. So if he gets to go with the Foreign Secretary, he gets to see his daughter for the first time in 19 months. And if he's there, he has the right to visit Nazanin in prison as her relative or as part of her family. So that's what we asked the Foreign Secretary for. The Foreign Secretary said that if he goes to Iran, he will certainly push to see Nazanin in prison. That's one of the things I've said to him over and over again, because in the past, British diplomats have gone to Iran, been to the same prison Nazanin is in, and not seen her face to face. So I want to make sure that if he goes there, he sees my constituent face to face. Otherwise, it's a wasted trip. In terms of diplomatic protection, the Foreign Secretary said, I don't want to rule it out. But what I made clear is that 2 months ago, the family lawyer for the Radcliffes and also Redress the NGO sent a series of legal questions and legal opinion about Nazanin's right to diplomatic protection, which haven't been answered. So the first thing that needs to happen is a meeting facilitated by the Foreign Secretary for his office and the lawyers to meet and iron out any legal issues about diplomatic protection. So the next steps will be after that. The Foreign Secretary categorically said he would leave no stones unturned for this campaign to get my constituent home, and that's what we're going to hold him to.
Protection, did he set them out?
So he asked, we discussed, how would I put it? He asked how it would help, in a nutshell. What did we think doing it would make different from what they're doing currently? And of course, I said, well, I'm not the lawyer. I think it would help. I think it would send an important signal that the way Nazanin is being treated is unacceptable. And I appreciate it's an escalation, but I think, and I've been quite straightforward all along, I think that's important that where, softly, softly doesn't work, where it has been escalated by the past couple of weeks' events and the Foreign Secretary's words being used, I think it is appropriate. There was again last night on the main news, Nazanin was there, again in the newspaper, and obviously that's deeply upsetting for her. And that's, interestingly, the one point she wanted to make to the Foreign Office, to the Foreign Secretary, what it's like to watch yourself being called a spy on television every night, which has happened only in the last 2 weeks, and just wanting him to do what he can to bring her home. So I reminded the Foreign Secretary, we updated on where things were legally, so slightly contrary to what was said in Parliament, there are these new charges that were pre-court in early October and then went to Judge Salavati about last Saturday. Nothing more has happened since that point. There's been lots of Iranian media, but her lawyer has not yet been brought before the judge.